I went straight into movies because I was offered parts in movies, and my first movie, Heat and Dust, was a big hit, and one of the best roles I'd ever had. Greta Scacchi was once one of the most beautiful and talented actresses of her time. She had a career that spanned from Hollywood to Europe. But when people talk about Scacchi, they don't just think of her great performances or prestigious awards. They also think of her stormy relationships, controversial choices, and, the most shocking, the fact that she had a child with her first cousin put her at the center of one of Hollywood's most famous scandals. She was once the darling of Hollywood, and was the first choice for mesmerizing lead roles. She even turned down an iconic part in Basic Instinct, which was a risky move that few would have dared to make at the time. Her career was on the rise, and it looked like she was about to become famous, but one bad choice set off a chain of events that brought her down, faster than anyone could have imagined. It happened so quickly that even Hollywood was shocked when the scandal broke. The public was shocked, Hollywood shut down, and Scacchi disappeared from the spotlight. What happened? Why would an actress at the top of her career ruin everything on her own? This is a story of fame, love, tragedy, never-ending controversy, and choices no one saw coming. If you think you've heard all of Hollywood's biggest scandals, think again. Greta Scacchi's story is unlike any other. Greta Scacchi was born on February 18, 1960, in Milan, Italy, into a family with a strong artistic background. Her father, Lucas Scacchi, was a painter and art dealer, and her mother, Pamela, was a talented dancer. It looked like she would have a peaceful childhood surrounded by art, but things took a sudden turn when her parents divorced when she was only 4 years old. This separation not only affected her deeply, but it also ended any stability in the family. After the divorce, her mother took Greta and her two older brothers, Paul and Tom, moved to London and eventually settled in Sussex, England. This sudden move split Greta's childhood between two very different worlds. In England, she had to get used to a structured and disciplined environment, but every time she went back to Italy to see her father, she stepped into a completely different world. In Milan, she was immersed in an artistic atmosphere. It wasn't just the language barrier. Greta felt like she was living two separate lives, one defined by England's rules and the other by Italy's. Italy's freedom and untamed spirit, on the other hand, made her feel like she never really belonged anywhere. The next big change happened when her mother remarried a university professor and moved the family to Perth, Australia in 1975. Once again, Greta had to get used to a new place. It was there that she started performing in school plays and discovered her deep love for the stage, but her love for her husband remained strong. For the arts wasn't enough to protect her from financial problems. Greta worked as a farmhand, took care of animals, and even as an Italian interpreter. These jobs not only helped her make money, but they also helped her develop strong independent traits that would later be important in her acting career. From a young age, Greta was drawn to the theater, even though she never thought she'd become a movie star. To her, the stage was where real art came to life, so when the chance came up to follow her dream, she didn't think twice about enrolling at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, which is one of the most prestigious acting schools in England. It was a tough and demanding environment, but it was also where she first built the foundations for her future as an actress, starting with small TV roles and commercials. Greta Scacchi quickly proved her talent, and her debut film, Gazik 1982, showed how determined she was as an actress, willing to break every rule to fully embody a character to play a part in this German drama. For the film Scacchi, she even taught herself German to give an authentic performance. This showed how dedicated she was and also hinted at an uncompromising approach to acting that would define her career. But it was when she was cast as Olivia in Heat and Dust 1983, a Merchant Ivory production, that her name became famous. Olivia was a complicated character who lived in India and fell in love with a forbidden romance. The movie required complex acting and Scacchi to play bold, intimate scenes, which was a big challenge for a rising actress. In one of the most striking scenes, Olivia is having an affair with Noab, a mysterious Indian nobleman. The scene takes place in a dimly lit room, where flickering oil lamps cast long shadows, and the oppressive heat of the tropics heightens the tension between them. Scacchi appears completely naked, her body embodying the raw sensuality and desire of her character as the scene plays out. Slowly and deliberately, there is no rush. There is only artful storytelling that captures the surge of emotions in a way that is both beautiful and wild. There is no hesitation and no awkwardness. Scacchi fully surrenders to the role, letting Olivia shed all the restraints of modern society and step into a world of forbidden pleasure and desire. The film was a huge hit, sending her to Hollywood after a string of European films. Hollywood couldn't resist a face that She was beautiful and mysterious at the same time, and she became known for playing roles that were both seductive and smart, fragile and fierce. At the time, this was a rare combination that made her one of the most promising European actresses on the American screen. But despite her meteoric rise, Scacchi had no idea that the decisions she would make in the years to come would take her career in an unimaginable direction. After her big break in Heat and Dust, she quickly cemented her status with a series of. In 1987, she made a big impression with White Mischief, a movie about seduction and betrayal among British aristocrats in Kenya. She played Diana, a stunningly beautiful woman stuck in an unhappy marriage who starts a dangerous affair. The movie made her famous as an actress who wasn't afraid to take on difficult roles. One of the most memorable scenes from the movie, Diana and her lover having a secret rendezvous outside of a grand estate in the hazy light of the African moon. The love scene was carefully crafted not only for its visual appeal, but also for the raw emotions it conveyed, showing a woman torn between reckless passion and the fear of what will happen. In 1990, Scacchi took another big step forward when she starred with Harrison Ford in Presumed Innocent, a psychological thriller full of legal drama and forbidden affairs. She played a prosecutor. Having an unclear relationship with Ford's character raised the tension of the movie both in court and behind closed doors. Their on-screen chemistry created one of the most interesting relationships of the time, as physical attraction and hidden agendas collided in an electrifying showdown. But it was Robert Altman's satire on the movie in 1992 that really shook Hollywood. In the movie business, one of the most infamous naked scenes of in the 1990s, there was a brave and unfiltered moment that lasted almost a minute, in which Scacchi appeared completely naked. There were no strategic angles or soft lighting to hide the truth. At a time when Hollywood still avoided showing such raw vulnerability, this scene was both provocative and deeply symbolic, tearing down not only the actress but also the entertainment industry itself. Scott's nakedness wasn't an afterthought. It was an artistic statement that lay bare her body and soul in a world driven by power and illusion. It was a daring act. Beyond her seductive and mysterious roles, Scacchi showed how versatile she was when she played Mrs. Weston in Emma, 1996. The Jane Austen adaptation won her critical acclaim for a refined performance that was different from the seductive image she had previously portrayed. She didn't need sexy scenes to shine. Her command of expression, voice, and poised elegance gave her character depth, showing that she could captivate audiences in any role. But what made Hollywood love her so much was her ability to show emotion. Not only was Scacchi known for her great acting, but also for standing up for what she believed in. For example, when she was offered a part in Basic Instinct, one of the most important movies of the 1990s, she turned it down flat, because she didn't like the script or the way director Paul Verhoeven was handling things. Scacchi's decision to walk away from a project that could have made her even more famous was risky, but it showed that she wasn't willing to give up her principles for fame. Scacchi's talent was consistently recognized with prestigious awards. In 1996, she won an Emmy for her role as Queen Alexandra in Rasputin: Dark Servant of Destiny, a historical role that showed how versatile she was. That wasn't all. In 2000, she won the AFI Award for Best Supporting Actress for Looking for Alibrandi, showing once again that her range as an actress went far beyond the glamorous and seductive roles that she was known for. Greta Scacchi fell in love with Vincent D'Onofrio, the talented actor best known for Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. Their relationship wasn't normal. It was a storm of emotions where passion and deep understanding bound them together. They became one of the most beautiful couples in the movie business, with Scacchi's classic allure and D'Onofrio's rough intensity. But as with many Hollywood love stories, D'Onofrio's intensity often led to tragedy, and she loved Scacchi very much. Unbelievable as it may seem, their love wasn't meant to last. When their daughter Leah George was born in 1992, the relationship started to fall apart just 6 months later. They broke up in tears and no one knew what caused it. Scacchi never hid her sadness, and the breakup sent her into a downward spiral that left her lost and drifting for 4 years. She disappeared from the screen, unable to find her footing. For a woman who had once had everything, beauty, fame, and love, losing. The end of her relationship with D'Onofrio was the worst time of her life. She couldn't work or think about anything else besides her pain. In a later interview, Scacchi said that this was the darkest time of her life because she couldn't recognize herself anymore. I was so consumed by the relationship that I couldn't work for several years. 4 years of trauma. It destroyed my career. She didn't just lose D'Onofrio, she lost her drive, her ambition, the very spotlight that had once defined her, she said. In Hollywood, even a moment of silence can be erased. During those 4 years, Scacchi didn't show up on screen, try out for new roles, or try to get her career back on track. But as the days of despair went by, she realized she couldn't let the pain consume her forever. "Now, I feel quite victorious. I have found a way to celebrate the fact that I survived such sorrow," she said. The loss and heartbreak no longer haunted her. They became her fuel. But just as she was about to go back to Hollywood, things had changed. The big roles she used to want were gone, and the directors who used to look for her were now interested in younger actors. To stay alive, Scacchi made a choice that no one saw coming. After her breakup with Vincent D'Onofrio, you might think that Greta Scacchi would be more careful in her relationships. But Hollywood isn't a place for quiet love affairs. And Scacchi soon found herself in one of the craziest relationships of her time, involving Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the greatest actors of our time. A mysterious and unpredictable man. Unlike her previous relationship, Scacchi wasn't seeing anyone else. At the time, Daniel Day-Lewis was in a long-term relationship with French actress Isabelle Adjani, a woman known for her beauty and talent who he had once adored with unwavering devotion. But Lewis and Scacchi fell into each other's arms like two raging fires that couldn't be put out. They went to fancy restaurants together and looked at each other for too long at late-night dinners. Sometimes they would both disappear from high-profile events at the same time, which added to the rumors. At first, both denied having an affair, but leaked photos started to show the truth. The final blow came when Isabelle Adjani publicly admitted that she had been cheated on by Day-Lewis. According to an insider, Annie had known about the affair for a long time but had kept quiet to try to save her relationship with Day-Lewis. She finally broke down in an interview, her words filled with both pain and honor. "I gave him the best years of my life, but maybe even that wasn't enough." The scandal broke out, but Johnny wasn't the only one left broken. The relationship between Scacchi and Day-Lewis fell apart quickly. The man known as the one who could never be tied down lived up to his reputation. He left Scacchi just like he had left Isabelle. The affair ended as quickly as it had begun, but the wounds it left behind would never go away. Once a respected actress known for her risky choices, Scacchi was now marked by one of Hollywood's most infamous cheating scandals. It was a stain she could never get rid of, even though there were still chances for her career to rise again. But if you think that was the biggest shock of her life, wait until you hear what happened next. Greta Scacchi's passionate but scandalous relationship with Daniel Day-Lewis had already sent shockwaves through Hollywood, but her next choice would cause an even bigger shock. After a string of failed relationships, Scacchi chose Carlo Managa, her first cousin, instead of starting over with a new partner. This caused a huge stir in the entertainment industry and in her own family. Carlo Managa wasn't a distant relative. He was the son of her father's sister, making him her first cousin by blood. As typical cousins who grow up together, they weren't very close as kids, and only became close as adults when Carlo left Italy to start a new life in Australia, which Greta had also made her second home. That's when their paths crossed, and they found an unexpected connection through shared artistic tastes and similar views on life. What started as family closeness turned into something deeper, but when they started dating, things got a lot more complicated when news came out that Scacchi was having a child with her first cousin, which caused a lot of trouble in her family. Her father, Luca Scacchi, was the most vocal opponent. He was deeply religious, and couldn't stand what he saw as a breach of family honor. Other relatives in Italy felt the same way, and some severed all ties with Scacchi, making the family fight so bad that it could not be fixed. But it wasn't just the family that was shocked. Public opinion and the media went crazy too. In Italy and most of Europe, cousin marriages were not illegal, but they were still considered very wrong. The press looked at every aspect of the scandal, from moral concerns to genetic implications, asking how it might affect their children and what the wider social effects might be. Despite the backlash, Scacchi didn't back down. In an interview she said, "People were shocked, but it's completely legal," and she and Carlo stayed together in 1998. They had a son named Matteo, who is a living example of how they chose to go their own way, despite what other people thought. But even though they seemed to be defying the odds, things were far from perfect in their relationship. There were always outside pressures, social stigma, and family tensions that never went away. After more than a decade together, Scacchi and Carlo quietly broke up in 2010. There were no public announcements, legal battles, or dramatic accusations like in high-profile Hollywood divorces. That was often in the news ended in silence, just like the gunfight. According to people close to them, they broke up not because they were angry or betrayed each other, but because they had grown apart over time. The only thing they kept in common was their promise to co-parent their son Mato. Being private, Scacchi never talked about the breakup in public, as if she wanted the story to fade into obscurity. But no matter how hard they tried to hide it, Greta Scacchi's relationship with Carlos Monaga is still one of Hollywood's most shocking scandals. Hollywood has always been cruel to actresses who are past their prime in terms of beauty, and Greta Scacchi was no exception. As she got older, she noticed that the roles they were offering her were becoming more and more uninspired supporting roles like mothers, ex-wives, or characters with no depth. This was in stark contrast to how male actors continued to get leading roles as they aged, refusing to play older roles. Scacchi spoke out strongly against the film industry's sexism and discrimination against women. She said she didn't want to play empty roles to support male leads anymore. Instead, she wanted to play characters with real emotional depth and meaning. This wasn't just her personal battle, it was a rallying cry for many talented actresses who Hollywood had thrown out because they weren't beauty icons anymore. Scacchi's fight wasn't limited to the screen, she also became a pioneering. No one saw her as an unexpected environmental activist. In 2010 she posed naked with a huge codfish for the Fish Love campaign, an effort to bring attention to overfishing and ocean damage. The picture went viral right away, both for its audacity and its powerful message: if we don't change, the oceans will soon be empty. This wasn't just a publicity stunt, the campaign actually had an effect. Politicians and environmental activists were aware of fish love. Scacchi used her fame to push for stricter rules on large-scale fishing in Europe, showing that a person's legacy isn't just measured by awards, but also by the real-world effects they have on stage. She continued to build her reputation with brave and challenging roles. Her roles as Queen Elizabeth I and Mary Stuart earned her a Sydney Theatre Award nomination, marking a major turning point in her career. But it was the deep blue sea that really made her stand out. It was more than just a role, it was a reflection of Skater's own life. Her character, Hester Collier, was a woman who risked everything for love, only to find herself in despair. This was a striking parallel to Skater's own life. She had dared to love, fight, and endure scandal for the sake of living honestly to her heart. Skater wasn't the Hollywood beauty goddess she used to be. She made her own legacy in her own way. She didn't need to walk the red carpet,